Greetings and welcome to Sun River Chambers Lunch at Home and Learn. It's evolved actually to the name Zoom and Learn, so either will get you here. But my name's Judy Cameron, and every Tuesday at noon Pacific, I'll be sharing, or someone will be sharing, topics related to our health or stress, given we're in a really unique time on the planet right now, and we could use it, yeah? So Tuesdays at noon, and you can either find the link to join in the Sun River Chambers newsletter or on my site at stressrelievers.com/lunch-learn. And I wanted to thank in particular Sue Elliott for the idea to do these, Kent Elliott, who runs the chamber, and Aaron Schofield, who has sponsored our lunches when we meet live from First Interstate Bank. It's a great group of people, and I so enjoy doing this. So this is an actual re-recording, but should we be live, I would ask a re-recording because I made some mistakes in my first live broadcast. Zoom had changed a few things on me, and I wanted to make a better quality recording for you. But just so you know, if this is your first time, I'm going to be muting the audience while I show slides so that we don't hear people's dogs barking and whatnot. There will be time for Q&A, and you have control over whether or not people see your video, as you see my face now, or if you unmute yourself or mute yourself again. And everybody's on a different device, but if you can find the microphone icon or the little video icon, you're in good shape there. And you also have the choice of seeing me or everyone in the group, and many people don't show their video, so you'll see a cartoon caricature of a human. And if you don't want to see all of them, play with the buttons on your screen to find what works for you. Or you can do, I think the smallest little line minimizes everything, and you just see my slides. And the recordings are always going to be available on my website. Also, you have the opportunity to ask a question in the chat room. So on your menu, it's either visible as chat or under more, and then you'll find chat. And you have the option to open a question up to everyone who's listening, or you can find either my name or the word privately and just ask me a question that way. Great. So this is my business, Stress Relievers Now, and I specialize in mind, body, soul communication. Our bodies and our minds and our souls have information, have messages for us, and we just need to learn to listen in, to connect with our intuition more easily, and we can stay in better health that way. I also teach online fitness and biomechanics. We've got 3 topics that I specialize in, and I'll share them with you in a moment. But I come from Western medicine. I helped run the OB/GYN and ovarian cancer research labs in that building overlooking Golden Gate Park for 30 some years. And it was really a tough job emotionally. A lot of women weren't making it. And so I started thinking there's got to be more to just the drugs and the surgeries that we were developing. And it took me on a search for the best, the very best preventative, often ancient practices that I'm going to be sharing with you over the next few weeks. First of all, posture and fitness. I got to that discipline by having a lot of pain in my body. I was trying to do triathlons, and oh my God, the pain was amazing. So I realized my posture was poor, and so I studied biomechanics. Secondly, I found that acupressure point tapping can help us relieve so much stress and old memories and old painful events and turn it around into what we actually do want to feel, also known as EFT. I'll be talking about that next time. But today I wanted to talk about the topic of Qigong. It comes from ancient China, and you might recognize the word Qi, which is our life force, which is also part of the name of another ancient practice called Tai Chi. And I'll explain more about that in just a sec. Here's the problem. Here's what they've figured out. There's an intermediate step between stress and disease, and it's inflammation. So World Health Organization says it's our most prevalent problem right now. And so the techniques I'm going to be sharing with you will really help to manage your stress and decrease it. So what is Qigong? Well, it comes from ancient China. And it's a mind-body healing system that they've had long before our Western medicine process came about. And as I said, it's similar to Tai Chi. It incorporates different breath patterns and body movements and more. And I'll share more in just a moment. But it's really old, really old. Another master I just learned says he thinks it's 9,000 years old. Whatever, it's time proven. I think you might like it. And I thought this might be useful because we've heard some of these terms, but I didn't know exactly what the history was behind it. So if you look from the left to the right, you will see several more well-known practices, energy-focused disciplines, Taekwondo, Kung Fu, etc., and the countries that they come from. And there's Tai Chi kind of in the middle there from China. But the reason it's in the middle is because it's partly self-defense and partly healing. And then as you move more to the right, you see yoga, Ho'oponopono from Hawaii, Qigong from China. And as I've studied more about the Bushman's practice of healing, I think it may be the most profound that I've ever heard of. So I've got an interesting book about that. If you're interested, just email me. And it basically looks like this when you capture people in a photograph, but we're moving hands and bodies in different positions and so forth. It's very relaxing. At the very least, it's relaxing. So the two words, Qigong, are written in different ways because different English-speaking people using our English alphabet were trying to mimic the sound, the Chinese sounds. But Qi, again, is our life force. It's what makes us alive versus dead. And Gong is the word for the practice of increasing our Qi flow or unblocking. In the beginning, more commonly, unblocking our stuck Qi. So Qigong is the practice of moving our life force to increase our health. And I also love quantum physics because, man, it's all about energy at the most minute level. And the discipline says that we're made of energy. You know, our bodies look solid, but as you take it down into the atoms and quarks and whatnot, there's more space than there is physicality. So just remember that we're made of energy. We're made of this Qi, we're made of this loving life force, and it's all wise. It knows what it's doing, and it wants to bring us back into homeostasis, into health. And we need to do a few things on our human end to help that happen. The Chinese practitioners would say everything is made of very wise Qi. Universal intelligence. Now, here are some differences between Western medicine and Eastern medicine. Western medicine is very intellectual, very technologically based, and it's not generally, it's changing a little bit, but it's not generally very preventive. We focus a lot on the symptoms and on the physical body, and there are a lot of side effects to our drugs, most of them. And as a patient, you play more of a passive role. You're given a drug and you just watch what happens, and it's extremely costly. My husband just had 2 cataract surgeries done, and 15,000 for this eye and 15,000 for the other eye. But Eastern medicine is all about prevention. It's about good nutrition, meditation, practices like Tai Chi and Qigong, and they get to the cause of the problem. It's all about all parts of us, mind, body, and spirit. And generally, there are no side effects, except I have found with tapping, and as I began my Qigong practice, I was a bit tired, more tired in the beginning. And what I've now learned is that as you replace old patterns in your life, old habits, it creates a void for the fresh chi to come in and rejuvenate you. So there's a lag there depending on the state of your health. And you're definitely playing an active role. If you're going to practice Qigong, you need to find the time to do it, even if it's a few minutes in the beginning, and it's just the most valuable thing I can tell you to do. And you learn it relatively inexpensively, and you've got it for life. So beautiful. Now, some of Qigong's benefits are, for me, number one, I got out of pain relatively quickly from all my poor posture and impacting with the running and so forth. But the practice also can clear toxic buildup, slows the aging process. That's cool. Reinforces our body's natural defenses. Got a virus going on, so that's a good thing too. And it increases oxygenation to our cells because you learn to breathe more deeply and more slowly, and you fill the whole capacity of your lungs versus just breathing very shallowly and just up at the top range of your lungs. You will learn to breathe really fully and deeply. And there's an exercise I'll lead you through here in a moment that will help you with that. Definitely calms our nervous systems. We are so amped up these days with the ability on the internet to look at any problem that's come up in any country at any moment, and it's too much. It's too much. If you want to learn to be peaceful, start practicing Qigong. Now, Qigong has 4 parts: the body and hand movements that I used to live or work in San Francisco, both. And occasionally I'd walk down into Golden Gate Park, and there would be many Chinese people, many non-Chinese people, but gathered in the park practicing their traditional movement for good health at lunchtime. It was beautiful to watch. Breath patterns, mostly deepening the breath. And perhaps the most challenging part to understand about Qigong is that it helps you develop, as you study with a master, it helps you to develop faith in this system that is so outside our Western box. What do you mean energy can heal us? I need a pill, I need a surgery. We're taught this from an early age. And we use a lot of imagination. We use a lot of meditation, quiet time. And like I said, the Qi wants to heal us. And there are these proven practices that include opening our minds to the possibility that Qi could heal us. So there you go. And also sound. Sometimes we practice with sound, and I'll try to incorporate that for you as we do the last exercise today. Because as you could even try it just now, Om is the sound of the universe. And if you say this word with your lips closed, Om, and if you even close your teeth, you get that vibration, and that vibration will break down blockages, stuck places of chi that want to flow again. You can feel it. So it's pretty grand. Now, chi runs through energy lines called meridians in our bodies, and they're color coded. And I'll say more about that next week or next time. But they discovered over a lot of years that different points where they began the practice of acupuncture, inserting these very fine needles into these points, they could relieve blockages and return the body and mind to health. We, with tapping, which I'll show you next week, using your fingertips to tap on some of these points, can do the same thing. So that's pretty amazing. So what blocks our chi? Well, there are several reasons. Poor nutrition. One thing I forgot to say here is getting the wrong medication from your doc can block chi. Injuries can. Our mindset, the quality of our thoughts, whether we're pessimistic or optimistic in general. And also the buildings we live in, not just feng shui, which is, the arrangement of your furniture in your home or mirrors on trees and whatnot, but the quality of the materials in our buildings, whether we have mold in our buildings and so forth. But all that aside, the most important thing is the painful events that have happened to us in our past, and our chronic, unprocessed negative emotions. That's why tapping is so great, because you can think about an old memory and how painful it was and release it out of your body so it doesn't keep recycling through forever. You can let it go and ingrain some new positivity, which will do such wonders for your health. So, painful events, and you can breathe them out of your system with Qigong as well. Now, our chi gets blocked exactly like a king toes, and practicing Qigong will help us unkink the hose so the energy can flow the way it's meant to, the way it did when we were born and when we were little kids, and return us to good health. And it takes practice. Doesn't happen overnight, which is what us Americans, at least, we like that. You take the headache pill for the pain and it's gone. We like instant. But some of these ancient practices can take a little time, but they don't involve drugs. Now, this is the same slide just to show you that practicing tapping can do the same thing. So look for that video. Now, the core premise of Qigong is that we have this innate capacity hardwired into us for this Qi, also defined as universal wisdom or love energy, whatever, to release our blocks and heal us. This is why one would want to practice Qigong. And here's my Qigong master, Chunyi Lin. He now lives in Minnesota, but he has an amazing story to tell. He grew up as a kid in China during the Cultural Revolution. And one day, his parents, who had pretty good jobs, and so that was part of the problem for the Cultural Revolution, one day his parents just disappeared. He came home from school and they weren't there. And he had two younger siblings. And luckily, a neighbor took them in and hid them for 4 years, took them in and took care of them. And after 4 years, his parents came back, luckily, but you can imagine that shock. And Master Lin, long story short, started to study different forms of Qigong and studied with different masters and developed a form that is easier to understand for Westerners. He wrote a book 20 or 30 years ago, back when he had hair, called, let me see, I've got to move my menu to get the exact title here, Born a Healer. And what he's meaning to say is that we are all born with this ability to learn how to heal ourselves with the practice of Qigong. And he developed a system that's a bit more complicated than the one I want to share with you today. I thought we'd start off simply, but he's the kindest, most compassionate man you've ever met. Yet, as a young person, he had a lot of anger for what happened to him as a kid. And so that was what motivated him to study Qigong, because he had a lot of pain in his body. And it's hard to imagine he was like that, but that's what he says. So when we're live, I offer a place to ask questions, and I'll look at your chat comments. And if you have any concerns about practicing Qigong, you might want to just watch today and check with your health professional. But it is a very comforting, relatively easy practice. There are some more challenging moves, but you build up to them and your body wants to do them. It's quite nice. The form I wanted to teach you today is called the 8 Pieces of Brocade. And as I understand it, it is the oldest form of Qigong, thousands and thousands of years old. So it's time proven. And it's called the 8 Pieces of Brocade because it's got 8 movements. And as I said, they use a lot of visualization and imagination in Qigong. So the brocade is meant to represent how each movement is like a thread in a tapestry, and they're interwoven, and together they create a whole beautiful piece of artwork. And you can think of Qigong as a form of art, body art, mental art, etc. So these are the names of the 8 pieces of brocade, and I'm going to share with you the first 3 today because they're probably the simplest, and as you go down the list, they get a bit more complicated. So the first one is called Push Hands to Heaven. The second, Bow and Arrow, and you can imagine it looks quite like pulling a bow. And the third is One Hand Lift and Press. So what you ought to know before we start is that each movement is focused on one of our organs in our bodies. And each organ in our body is quite remarkable in the traditional Chinese medicine practice because each holds, if we have chronic emotions, each organ holds a different emotion. For example, my mother grew up in the Blitz in London as a kid and was evacuated. She was an only child, evacuated out to the country. And fear is held in the kidneys. And because of her experience, she only has one functioning kidney now. And that's just an example. So let's look at Push Hands to Heaven. I'll step back so you can see me. And it's an introductory exercise to the whole system. So push hands to heaven. As I stand back here, let me come forward so you can see. I'm going to just drop my hands into my lap, relaxed shoulders, and I'm going to lift up the midline, my palms, and then about at the chest level, turn the palms to face the ceiling. Yeah. Now I'm not reaching out of my toes, I'm just reaching out of my hips. My knees are soft. And you can't see this, so I'll move in, but at the top of my hands, I've created a triangle with my thumbs. And if your neck allows, gently look up through that triangle. And as we lift up, we're going to inhale from, again, just the hips. Come back as far as I can. Inhale up, stretch. Exhale, let your palms come down a bit and your elbows relax. We do this 6 times. Inhale, reach up, hold for a moment. Exhale, relax your arms. Inhale, remember not to lock your knees. Keep them soft or bent. Exhale and release. You're massaging all your organs here. Inhale up, stretch, hold, and exhale, release. If your neck gets tired at all, just let it look forward. Drop your head. 2 more. Inhale up, exhale, release. Looks pretty simple, right? It's actually a pretty good workout. Lifting up, hold, inhale, exhale, release. And bring your hands down to your side. Great. Just be with that for a moment. Perhaps close your eyes. And can you just feel what's going on? Notice what's going on in your body. I like to stop after each movement and notice the effect it's having on my body. So let's move to the bow and arrow. And this movement strengthens our heart and lungs. And the emotions that are held in the lungs, if we don't process them and they get stuck and they recycle, hurt, sadness, and grief. So it's important to do the bow and arrow. Let me show you how. So my feet are parallel, or as parallel as you can create them. Don't hurt yourself if they're not parallel. I'm bending my knees. My feet are about 4 to 6 inches apart. So this is neutral. Let me get my chair out of the way. This is neutral stance in the martial arts. Soft knees. And again, lifted tall through your spine, out of your hips. So you're lifting tall through your spine, bringing the hands up, over to the left to begin. Your arms are parallel. You might check yourself in the camera if you have your camera on. That's another reason to have your video on during these movements. Make fists. And I'm gently looking off to the left, and the front fist is going to push forward. The back elbow is going to reach back. So it's a 2-way stretch across the front of your chest and across the upper back. We're going to inhale again as we stretch. Hold it. Exhale, release. Let your shoulders drop a little bit. 2 more on this side. This total of 6. Push, pull, push, pull back. Inhale. Exhale, release. Very good. And one more. Push the front fist forward, the back elbow back. Two-way stretch. Exhale, release. Hands forward. Let's move to the other side, to the right. Make fists. Your arms are as parallel to the ground as you can have them comfortably be today. Two-way stretch. Inhale. You'll feel it across your upper back. Exhale. Two-way stretch. Inhale. Exhale. Remember, it's helping to process hurt and grief, sadness. Two-way stretch. Inhale. And exhale. Very good. Looks simple, right? But you probably feel some muscles working in the upper back. So that's the bow and arrow, and I like to pause and just notice the effects of that movement in my body. That helps us to get more in touch with tension in the body, pain that we maybe, ignore and get used to. These are all messages that our bodies have to say. Let's move to the third exercise. One hand lift and press. And this strengthens our stomach and our spleen. And these organs, if there's too much of it, hold on to worry, overthinking, and it can help with our digestion because it's related to the stomach, right? So this is what this movement looks like. My Qigong master, and you may see this in a lot of Nepalese monks, they're often doing this movement with their hands as if they have an energy ball the size of a volleyball in front of them. And here's your volleyball with your hands at the sides of the volleyball. And we're going to take our left hand on top of the volleyball to start. And as I step back, let me make sure you see this too. The movement is similar to the bow and arrow, but it's going to be in the up-down direction. Turn your top palm toward the ceiling, your bottom palm toward the floor. And then we're going to reach. Two-way stretch again. Inhale. Reach for the ground, reach for the ceiling. You feel it up the side of your body. Exhale, release. Let your arms at your elbows bend a bit. Inhale deeply one more time. Two-way stretch. Exhale and release. Third time finishes for this side. Inhale. Two-way stretch. Exhale and release. Believe that it helps with worry, right? Hard to believe, but it does. Now this time your hands come back to right hand on top of the volleyball. Send the top palm to the ceiling, bottom palm to the floor. 3 times on this side. Again, anything that doesn't feel good, just hold off, build up to it slowly, or practice another of the forms. Two-way stretch, inhale. Exhale and release. 2 more. Doing really well. Inhale. Two-way stretch. Exhale and release. 1 more. Two-way stretch. Exhale. Hands back to the volleyball and down. And just notice how your body feels. I've been practicing Qigong for quite a while, so my whole body's tingling, especially my hands. And that's normal. That's just letting you know, that's your energy. It's letting you know that your chi is starting to flow and you'll be more energized and gain some of these great benefits. Again, if we were live, I'd be asking questions, but if you have a question at this point and you're watching this recording, please just email me at judy@judycameron.com. It's Judy, and I'd be happy to answer them. So remember the volleyball, energy ball. The next move is more of a meditation. It's a moving meditation. And it follows, I'll describe it in more detail in a second, but it follows the motion. If you can imagine playing an accordion, that's what it looks like. So let me describe it to you. Back up. I'm going to back up so you can see me. And I'm going to challenge you to do this with me for 10 whole minutes. And it is really hard for most people to sit still for 10 minutes, but we're going to do it. We're going to try to do it. Especially Americans, we're so busy. We're so into the do, get it done, get the checklist. And we're just too amped up. We need to learn to sit still. 10 minutes, you will notice a big difference in your breath and your relaxation, your state of mind. And the other thing is that stress blocks our intuition. It blocks new ideas coming, new solutions that will pop into your mind the more your mind is relaxed. So that's another great benefit. So here's what the motion looks like. Sit up a little higher. So here's neutral in a seated position. I'm lifted tall through my spine. Often Master Lin says just smiling can relax your body and mind so well. So I'm going to encourage you to smile. It also is physically connected to tension, disconnecting tension in our jaws and tension in our hips. Just a smile. So in neutral, I'm going to exaggerate a little bit so you can see, pull my shirt in a bit. So you can see that there's space between my upper arm and my torso. I'm not locking my upper arms to my torso, giving an inch or two there. And then I'm going to begin opening the accordion and closing the accordion. Opening and closing. Opening and closing. Now notice that the movement is initiated from the elbow. My wrist is relatively straight. I'm not just doing it just from my hands, or I'm not doing it from my arm socket. A couple inches away from the torso, the movement comes from straight lower arm, little bit of wave action in the hand, but I'm not bending my wrist to any extreme, yeah? It's a little bit like a mermaid tail or some kelp going with the tide in the ocean. That was fun. I had a memory of my learning to dive. It's that kind of motion there, yeah? Okay, so both hands together. And the other thing you need to know, and you can close your eyes if you like as we do this, but you're going to be inhaling, imagining expanding your chest, your lungs. Inhale as you open, exhale as you bring your hands together. And I'll remind you a few times. Lovely. Okay, let's do it for 10 minutes. I've got a timer. Here we go. Start. Okay. So lifting tall through your spine. And you can put some pillows behind your back if that's useful so you can sit upright. There we go. Inhale. Exhale. Now, I invite you to do it at your pace because I've been practicing a while and I can hold my breath, not as long as a pearl diver, but you know, my master Lin, he says, you know who lives the longest? Giant tortoises. They take 2 breaths a minute. So the fewer breaths you can take, the longer you'll live. And that's not a joke. Inhale. Exhale. At your own pace. See if you can fill your lungs. Remembering to smile. And you're free to make micro adjustments to your posture so you don't hurt. And we're not doing Zen meditation here, which is very stringent and rigid, and you sit through the pain. Too bad if things start to hurt. Well, this is different. This is about relaxing your body, relaxing your mind. Now, if you notice tension building up in your shoulders, see if with the exhale, your exhale, you can let your shoulders drop. You're still lifted through your spine, but your shoulders drop. Very good. Fill your belly, fill your lungs. It's a good idea to loosen your belt if you do this, any kind of breath work, so you're not restricted. I'll be quiet for a moment. If you do this on your own, you might like some nice music. You start to get lightheaded. It's because you're not used to breathing so deeply. Just stop. Wait a moment. That's normal. Come back to it and maybe don't breathe as deeply. Remembering to smile. Think of a puppy. Think of something that makes you smile. likely notice your mind go, whoa, I need to get out of here. Where's my checklist? I need to start moving around. This is nuts. That's because we're conditioned to be that way, to be productive. And other countries take longer vacations every year. And they take a siesta at lunchtime. Spain has a very healthy culture, I think, from what I've read. Wow, you're halfway. Just let those thoughts come and go. Inhale, exhale. You're doing so many good things for your body. I'll be quiet again. Ideally, breathe in through your nose and out through your nose if you can. You do start to notice tingling in your hands. That's your own very own chi, waking up and moving. So that's a good thing. And if you don't feel it yet, you will eventually. As you relax your body and mind. Inhale, exhale. You may yawn, you may burp. These are things that happen and they're okay. I remember Deepak Chopra answering a question. People were saying, when I meditate, I fall asleep. If I lie down, especially. And he said, you know what? That means you need more sleep. This exercise will relax you very well if you do it before you go to bed. Or anytime. Might be a good idea to do it just before a big meeting or after you've had an afternoon with the grandkids. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Another minute and a half. Challenge you to do it. Stay lifted through your spine. I know that gets tiring. Just let it go if it's too much. That's why I learned to teach biomechanics, because I couldn't meditate sitting up. My spine hurt too much. Make micro adjustments as you need to take care of yourself. This is your time. As you exhale, relax your shoulders. That reminds me to add in the Om sound. So I inhale, exhale, Om. You'll feel your whole head vibrate if you touch your teeth. Om. Again, Om is the sound of the universe. So of course it can unblock blockages. It can do anything. Om. One more time. And bring your hands to your lap. Very well done. Very well done. It is not easy to sit still. But if you replay this, oh, what time did I start? I don't know, sorry. But just fast forward to this part and follow along with me. Add some music. And know that if you're in a public place, some places like the hospital I worked at had a meditation space, and I didn't want to disturb other people who were praying for their family members in surgery often. You can just think the word Om. It helps to practice it first, but then the word in your mind will be just as effective. So that's useful to know when you're in a public place, or even in a public restroom and you're in the stall. You can do this to soothe yourself and not make a sound. Wonderful. I hope you enjoyed it. Please notice before we move on, we're almost done, but before we move on, please notice what's happened to your body and your mind with just 10 minutes of the accordion breath. It's pretty wonderful. Yeah, I know our mind wants to do the monkey mind thing because it's freaking out. It would rather go do its monkey chores, you know. But we need to calm ourselves so we don't get inflamed, so we don't get sick. Thank you. Thank you for joining me with that. So, if you're looking to practice Qigong, I have created a video. I was out in the cold. My husband filmed me. He's a photographer, videographer, and that's the Deschutes River behind me. I live in Central Oregon. And I've created the 8 Pieces of Brocade in a really lovely video sequence. So if you'd like that, it's at Stress Relievers Now /shop. You'll see it there. Next time, I'll be talking about acupressure point tapping. I'll lead you through the whole process. It's so valuable to let go of our old painful memories. And people telling us this when we're little kids, any kind of physical or mental abuse, you can release, and it doesn't have to be extreme. It can be being criticized at the spelling bee when I was 10 years old. I remembered that, and I've released it now. I still have the memory, but I don't have the charge on it that is blocking me from public speaking ever again. So these kinds of things can help unravel them so you can be the public speaker you want to be, so you can have more joy or prosperity in your life, etc. Now, any questions, any comments, again, just email me at judy@judycameron.com. And please go in peace. I wish you well. Thank you for joining me.